You know this road. You have known it since before you were old enough to drive it. Since it was the road that led away from ordinary life into the particular territory of home. The specific landscape, the specific quality of the light. As you enter the valley, the stands of trees that have been there since before you were born and will be there after you have been away long enough that the knowing has become theoretical, has lived in memory rather than in the body. Now the body is relearning it. The curve here, the hill there, the bridge over the stream that always makes a particular sound under the tires. The farmhouse with the red roof that has always been a landmark, still there, slightly more weathered. The slow jazz composition opens with the piano playing a melody you almost know, familiar in structure, recognizable in feeling, but heard as if from a slight distance. The way things heard again after absence are both the same and slightly new. The bass enters with the steadiness of a road that does not change, that has been going this direction for as long as roads go anywhere, that connects the place you have been to the place you are from, with the patient geometry of the route. The drums are the sound of the car on the road, the rhythm of distance being covered, of the number of kilometers between you and the place decreasing. The landscape is doing what landscapes do when you return to them, holding its essential character while having changed in all the small ways that a year or 2 years or 5 years produces. The field that was planted with one crop is planted with another. A new house has appeared on the hill that was clear before. A barn that was standing is gone, its absence more visible than its presence ever was. You absorb these changes without stopping. The road does not allow stopping or not here. And in any case, what you are absorbing is not individual changes, but the cumulative fact of time having passed, of the world having continued its work while you were not watching it. The saxophone enters as the valley appears, the moment when the road crests the last hill before home, and the whole of the familiar landscape opens below, and the body responds before the mind does, something in the chest loosening, something returning to a configuration it has been away from. This is what home means in the body, a specific relaxation, a specific recognition, a return to a baseline that you did not know you had been away from, until you are back within reach of it. The trumpet plays one phrase here, warm, uncomplicated, the sound of something that does not need to be explained, to be understood. The last few kilometers are the most familiar of all, ones you have traveled the most times, the ones your hands know without instruction. The composition ends as the house comes into view, the piano playing its almost known melody with full knowledge now. The familiarity complete, the distance closed, the bass resolves to its root with the finality of arrival. The saxophone holds its last note as you turn off the engine and sit for a moment in the silence, in the specific silence of a place you know before going inside. Autumn changes the river. In summer it is recreational, social, crossed quickly and forgotten. But in autumn, in the particular quality of an October night, with the leaves gone or going, and the water running darker and higher, the river becomes something else. It becomes a border, a threshold, something that separates not just one bank from another, but one state of mind from another, one version of the night from its opposite. Standing on the bridge above it, looking down at the black water moving slowly beneath you, you feel the specific gravity of the season, the specific weight of this hour. This slow jazz composition opens with the piano playing alone, a simple descending figure, like water finding its level, like the gradual arrival of a mood you cannot name, but recognize immediately. The bass enters on the second repetition, and together they establish the pace of the river, unhurried, inevitable, going somewhere without announcing its destination. The brush drums arrive like the wind that moves across the bridge in irregular gusts, cold and carrying the smell of fallen leaves and wet earth from somewhere upstream. The bridge itself is old, its iron railings are rough with rust beneath your hands, painted and repainted over decades until the paint itself has become structural. The lampposts along it cast pools of light that fall straight down into the water below, becoming long broken columns of gold in the current. You watch one of these columns for a long time, the way the moving water shatters it and reforms it, shatters it and reforms it endlessly. The saxophone enters here, playing something that shares this quality, broken and reforming, incomplete and yet coherent, following a logic that is felt rather than understood. There are leaves on the water, dark shapes moving with the current, turning slowly, carried towards something they did not choose. You watch them pass beneath the bridge and emerge on the other side, and continue downstream until they are too small to follow. This is October's lesson, offered again as it is every year, as patient as the river itself. That passing is not the same as ending, that being carried is not the same as being lost, that the dark water knows where it is going, even when you do not. The composition ends slowly, the piano is sending back to where it began, the bass holding a long final note, the saxophone breathing out its last phrase over the sound of water that the music has made audible even in silence. You push yourself off the railing and continue across the bridge. The river continues beneath you, dark and unhurried, carrying its leaves toward the sea. The autumn night settles over everything like a second darkness, softer than the first, smelling of ending. And underneath that, very quietly, of what comes next. The old town keeps its secrets well, in crooked streets where lanterns dwell. Behind the doors of painted green are stories no one else has seen. The stones are warm from summer days, the windows hold a golden haze. A cat slips through an alley light and vanishes into the night. The clock tower sighs, the rooftops lean, the moonlight lies on every scene. Secrets of the old town whisper softly when the sun goes down. Every corner, every stair hides a little song in there. Secrets of the old town turn my lonely heart around. In your shadows warm and blue, I find a path that leads to you. A cafe chair is left outside, a glass of rain where stars can hide. The waiter locks the wooden door, but music slips beneath the floor. The piano plays from somewhere near, a gentle chord the walls can hear. The upright bass begins to roam, like footsteps finding their way home. The city sleeps, but not completely. The evening keeps its mystery sweetly. Secrets of the old town whisper softly when the sun goes down. Every corner, every stair hides a little song in there. Secrets of the old town turn my lonely heart around. In your shadows warm and blue, I find a path that leads to you. Maybe every shutter knows who was kissed beneath the rose. Maybe every balcony kept a lover's melody. Maybe every fountain heard one unfinished, trembling word. Maybe every narrow lane sings it back after the rain. I passed the square where children played, now empty in the evening shade. A bronze old angel lifts her hand, as if she seems to understand. The bakery smells of buttered light, the chapel bell is soft tonight, and on a wall in fading blue, someone once wrote, I waited for you. Secrets of the old town whisper softly when the sun goes down. Every corner, every stair hides a little song in there. Secrets of the old town turn my lonely heart around. In your shadows warm and blue, I find a path that leads to you. The old town smiles, the night moves on, the lamps remain when footsteps are gone, and every secret, soft and true, becomes a little jazz in blue.
Someone carved them a long time ago. The knife must have been sharp. The letters go deep into the wood, deep enough to have survived decades of weather, of painting and repainting, of the slow compression of countless people sitting and rising and sitting again. The initials are inside a heart, as convention required then, as it requires now, as it has always required. This ancient grammar of public declaration, this small act of permanence in a world that offers so little of it. Two sets of letters, a plus sign between them, the heart around them worn to almost nothing by time, but still there, if you know to look. The slow jazz composition was written for the bench, not for the people who carve their names into it, who are unknowable now, who may be together still, or long separated, or no longer living, who cannot be reached through the wood and the weather and the years. But for the bench itself, for the object that held the declaration and outlasted whatever it declared. The piano opens with something very simple, almost childlike in its directness, a melody and two voices moving together, then apart, then together again. The bass arrives like time itself, steady, indifferent, going somewhere. Who are they? You sit on the bench and run your thumb across the letters, feeling them beneath your skin. And you ask the question that the bench cannot answer. Young, probably. This kind of declaration tends toward youth, toward the age before you understand that permanence is a wish more than a fact, before experience has taught you the appropriate humility about the future. And in love, obviously, or in the version of love that requires external confirmation. The carved proof, the witnessed heart, happy, perhaps, on the afternoon the knife came out and the decision was made. Here, this, us, always. The saxophone enters midway through, and it sounds like the distance between that afternoon and this one. Not grief, not even nostalgia exactly, but something more neutral and more vast. The feeling of contemplating time from inside it. The decades between the carving and your thumb on the letters are not empty. They're full of every person who sat on this bench without noticing the initials, of every rain that fell on them, and every sun that dried them, of every season that passed over the park without asking permission. The heart around the letters is almost gone. In another decade it may be entirely gone, and what will remain are two sets of initials and a plus sign. The grammar without the context, the declaration without its frame. And then, eventually, the letters themselves will shallow and blur. And then the bench will be replaced. And then there will be nothing. The composition ends with this, not as a tragedy, but as a fact, played in the piano's final chords with the care and the acceptance that facts deserve, when they are all so beautiful. The bass holds, the saxophone is already gone. The bench remains, for now, in the afternoon light, patient and specific, and full of what it knows. A velvet voice is singing in the dark, soft enough to find a hidden spark, not too loud and never too bright, just a ribbon moving through the night. The room is blue, candle's almost gone. The piano holds a slow and tender song. The bass is deep, the brushes gently start, and every note is leaning on my heart. No need to see, no need to know. A melody can touch you slow. Velvet voice in the dark, leave your echo, leave your mark. Sing the sorrow into grace, turn the shadows into space. Velvet voice, soft and low, tell the lonely where to go. In the dark, so warm, so true, every silence turns to blue. I never caught the singer's name that night, only how the smoke curled in the light, only how the room forgot to breathe, only how my heart
began to leave, not for a place, not for a dream, but for that gentle, saddened stream. A sound that made the old world new, a song that wore the color blue. The glass was still, the moon was near, the windowsill had leaned to hear. Velvet voice in the dark, leave your echo, leave your mark. Sing the sorrow into grace, turn the shadows into space. Velvet voice, soft and low, tell the lonely where to go. In the dark, so warm, so true, every silence turns to blue. Maybe every voice we follow is a lantern for the soul, filling every empty hollow, making broken places whole. Maybe songs are little bridges built from breath and borrowed time, crossing over hidden rivers, finding rhythm, finding rhyme. The final chorus faded into smoke. Nobody moved and nobody spoke. The singer smiled and lowered her eyes, as if she knew the spell would rise. I stepped outside beneath the midnight rain, but still that voice kept calling me again. From somewhere warm, from somewhere far, like velvet wrapped around a star. Velvet voice in the dark, leave your echo, leave your mark. Sing the sorrow into grace, turn the shadows into space. Velvet voice, soft and low, tell the lonely where to go. In the dark, so warm, so true, every silence turns to blue. Years may pass and rooms may change, songs may travel out of range, but in the dark when night is still, that velvet voice is singing still.
From the edge of the road, the field extends to the horizon. 100 hectares of wheat in the last week before harvest. The stalks full and heavy, the heads drooping slightly with their weight. The sun is 40 minutes from the horizon, and already the light has changed from its afternoon white to the gold of early evening. And in this light, the wheat is not yellow, but something closer to copper, something that moves between gold and amber as the wind moves through it in long, visible waves that travel from somewhere behind you to somewhere ahead of you. From the origin of the wind to wherever wind goes when it has finished with a field. This slow jazz composition opens with the piano playing a figure that moves in the same way. The wind moves through the wheat in long, slow waves, each one beginning before the previous one has ended, overlapping in a way that creates a continuous motion, a motion that is both repetitive and endlessly varied in its specific form. The base is the earth beneath the field, the deep, unmoving ground that holds the roots, that has held roots in this place for centuries, that will hold roots after this field has been harvested and plowed and planted again. The brush drums are the sound of 10,000 wheat stalks moving in unison, a dry and beautiful collective whisper. The wind in the wheat is one of the oldest sounds that human ears have heard. Older than cities, older than music, older than language. The agricultural landscape is the original human landscape, the one in which most of human history unfolded. And the sound of wind in a field of grain carries in it something of that deep history, something that resonates below the level of the individual and speaks to the species. The saxophone enters and it speaks in this register, long, unhurried phrases that have the quality of something ancient and patient, something that does not belong to any particular moment, but to all of them. The light continues to change. By the time the sun reaches the horizon, the wheat will be the color of embers, the copper deepening to something almost red, and the shadows of the stalks will be longer than the stalks themselves, and the wind will carry the smell of warm grain and dry earth. That is the specific smell of harvest approaching. The trumpet plays one phrase here, catching the light, bright, golden, upward and then gone back into the texture of the piece, leaving the saxophone and the piano and the bass to continue their slow contemplation. The composition ends as the sun reaches the horizon, and the light changes one more time, from gold to something softer, more diffuse. The brief interval between sunset and dusk, when the world is lit not by direct light, but by reflected light, and everything seems to glow from within. The wheat still moves, the wind continues, the bass holds its last note with the patience of earth. The piano plays its final wave, the saxophone breathes out slowly and completely, releasing the evening air. The field will be harvested, the field will be planted, the wind will move through it again next summer, and the summer after, as it has moved through it every summer before. ago. The sky is still gray, but lighter now. The darkness of the storm having given way to the more ordinary gray of aftermath. A sky that is finished with its urgency and settling back into the neutral. The meadow is completely wet, the grass holding water in its blades, the ground softened and dark, every hollow collecting its small pool. And the smell of a meadow after rain is one of the most specific and unrepeatable smells in the world of smells. The combination of wet earth releasing its stored warmth, of grass releasing its plant oils into the wet air, of the particular chemistry of rain on organic matter, which has a name, petrichor, that the name somehow fails to fully capture. This slow jazz composition opens with the bass playing a figure that has the quality of wet earth, dark, warm, organic, full of slow life. The piano enters above it with a melody that has the freshness of the post-rain air, something open and slightly cool, the musical equivalent of a deep breath taken in a meadow after a storm. The brush drums are the water still dripping from the trees at the meadow's edge, irregular and light, the percussion of aftermath. Everything in this piece has been washed, everything is starting again from a cleaner baseline. A bird begins to sing in one of the trees at the meadow's edge. You notice it because everything else is quiet. The rain having silenced the ordinary ambient sound, the aftermath having not yet resumed its normal level of activity. The bird's song is the first thing, the signal that the world is restarting, that the pause imposed by the storm is lifting, and the ordinary life of the meadow is resuming its course. The saxophone enters at this moment and takes the bird's cue, something fresh, something beginning, something that is not thinking about the storm that just passed, but only about the light and the wet grass and the smell and the fact of being alive. And the meadow at this particular moment. The smell deepens as the sun tries to come through the cloud cover. You can feel its warmth before you see it, a slight brightening of the gray above, and a slight warming of the air, and the smell responding to the warmth by intensifying, the earth giving up more of what the rain drew out of it. Petrichor and grass, and something underneath those things that is harder to name. The smell of life continuing, of the world having been through something and being fine, of all the small organisms in the soil resuming their small and necessary work. The composition ends with the meadow still wet, but drying at the edges. The
grass beginning to release the weight of the water it holds, the sky beginning its post-storm lightning. The piano's fresh melody plays through to its conclusion. The bass resolves to its root with the finality of earth. After rain, settled content ready, the saxophone breathes out its last note into the wet meadow air, and the smell carries it away. A second bird joins the first. The meadow resumes its ordinary afternoon, washed clean and warm and smelling of everything that makes it precisely and irreplaceably itself.
The compartment holds 6 people, but tonight it holds only 2. You and a man across from you who fell asleep before the train left the city and has not moved since. His head against the window, his reflection visible in the glass behind him. The dark landscape sliding past beyond them both. The lights outside are intermittent, the lit windows of houses passing too fast to see into. The orange bloom of a town appearing and brightening and then falling away behind you. The occasional red signal light holding its position for a moment before the train carries you past it. The darkness between lights is complete. This slow jazz composition was written for this movement, this rhythm of light and dark that belongs specifically to night train travel, to the experience of moving through a sleeping landscape, of passing through other people's nights without stopping, of being in motion while the world outside is at rest. The piano opens with a figure that has the rhythm of the train, not literally mimetic, but sharing the quality of steady forward motion through irregular intervals of light. The bass is the track beneath the wheels, the deep felt rhythm of the infrastructure, the ground that makes the motion possible. The brush drums are the slight sway of the carriage, the clickety rhythm of joints in the rail, the percussion of transport. The man across from you shifts slightly in his sleep without waking. His reflection shifts too. Beyond his reflection, a farmhouse passes, all its windows dark except one, a single lit window on the upper floor, where someone is awake at this hour, for reasons you will never know. The light holds for a moment, and then is gone, and the darkness returns. The saxophone enters here, playing the lit window. The unknown wakefulness, the brief connection between your moving darkness
and their stationary light, a connection of no practical consequence, but of genuine human significance. One consciousness briefly in the vicinity of another, both of them in the night. The towns that the train passes through at speed are different from the towns that the train stops in. You see them at a pace that prevents comprehension of specifics, but permits a general impression. The density of light in the center, the thinning at the edges, the industrial darkness of whatever lies between this town and the next. Each one contains thousands of people in their sleep, thousands of private lives proceeding in their private darkness. And the train carries you past all of them at 100 kilometers an hour, past all those lives at speed. And there is something humbling and exhilarating about this, the scale of it, the number of people contained in the ordinary darkness of an ordinary night. The composition ends somewhere between two cities in the stretch of countryside, where the lights are few and widely spaced. The darkness between them is the real darkness of agricultural land at night, the darkness that most people in the developed world have lost access to and do not know they miss. The piano plays its last lit window and then plays the darkness between. The bass walks its final measures of track. The bass walks its final measures of track. The saxophone breathes out one last phrase that is both the motion and the stillness, the moving train and the sleeping land, before releasing into the silence that is always traveling alongside the train, just outside the window, just beyond the reach of the light.
The hammock was strung between the two old apple trees years ago, when the trees were younger and the rope was newer, and both the trees and the rope have aged into their arrangement with the kind of mutual accommodation that only time produces. The trees lean slightly toward each other at the top, the pull of the hammock over years, the slow physics of load and growth. The rope has darkened and softened. The hammock itself holds the shape of everyone who has ever lain in it, a collective impression. And when you settle into it now, it receives you with the ease of something that has been doing this for a long time. The slow jazz composition was written for the hammock, for the particular quality of consciousness that a hammock afternoon produces. The slight swaying, the dappled light through the apple leaves, the way horizontal changes your relationship to time, so that it moves differently, less urgently, more like water than like a clock.
The piano opens with a melody that sways slightly, that has a gentle rocking quality, unhurried and warm. The bass is the ground beneath the hammock, steady, supporting, unconcerned. The drums are summer insects, the distant sound of a lawnmower, 2 properties over, the occasional car on the road beyond the fence. The Dhaka is not grand, it was never meant to be grand. It was meant to be a place where the city stopped, where the rhythms of the agricultural world, however attenuated, however amateur, replaced the rhythms of the urban one. The garden is only partly tended. The apple trees produce more fruit than anyone can use. And every autumn the fallen apples rot pleasantly in the grass. And the smell of them is part of what the Dhaka means, is part of its specific vocabulary of sensation. In summer they are still green and small, and the bees are interested in the blossoms that preceded them. And the light through the leaves is the specific green gold of apple light, which is different from the light through any other tree. The saxophone enters lazily, as if it too has been lying in a hammock and has decided, without particular urgency, to play something. It plays a melody that is slow and warm, and has no ambition beyond existing pleasantly in the summer air. The trumpet answers it, equally unhurried, and together they conduct a conversation of the most comfortable kind. No agenda, no conclusion required, just 2 voices finding each other in the afternoon and spending some time together before the light changes and the evening begins its approach. You may sleep for a while. This is permitted, encouraged. Even the composition is designed to receive sleep without requiring it, to accompany consciousness and unconsciousness with equal grace, to be there when you surface, not diminished by your having been away from it. The piano's melody continues. The bass walks its unhurried path. The summer afternoon holds its particular quality of light and warmth. When you wake, the shadows have moved. The apple leaves are still moving in the light wind. The music has not ended so much as continued, the way summer afternoons continue, gradually, warmly, without hurry, until they become evenings without you quite noticing the transition.
The city is full of places that do not know you, that cannot know you, that are not built for knowing, that operate at a scale and a speed that makes the individual invisible. This is part of what the city offers: anonymity, the freedom of being unknown. But everyone also needs its opposite, a place that knows you that has registered your preferences, that requires no explanation, where you can arrive and be received rather than simply processed. For some people, this is a bar, for some a barber shop. For many, it is a small cafe somewhere near home, somewhere that has been there long enough to have learned you. This slow jazz composition was written for that cafe, not a specific one, but the category, the idea, the particular quality of a place where you are known without being public, where your preferences are held without being performed. The piano opens with something warm and immediate, a melody that feels like a greeting, not effusive, not overstated, just genuine. Here you are, there you are, good. The bass enters with the solidity of a place that has been there for years and intends to be there for years more, rooted in its corner, reliable as weather is not. The person behind the counter sees you come through the door and turns to begin your order before you have reached the counter. The small act, this anticipation, the silent acknowledgement that they know you well enough to begin before you have spoken is worth more than its practical convenience. It is a form of recognition, a proof that you exist consistently enough to be known, that you are not starting from zero in this place, that some accumulation of your visits and your preferences and your particular way of coming through the door has been retained and is now being reflected back to you in the form of a coffee already being made. The saxophone enters midway through and it plays the quality of being known, not the dramatic version, not the version involving deep intimacy or high stakes, but the daily, ordinary, quietly sustaining version, the version that asks nothing of you beyond your presence, that requires no vulnerability, that offers its comfort at the low temperature of the habitual rather than the high temperature of the significant. The trumpet plays a brief phrase in response, light and contented, and fades back into the texture of the piece. Your order arrives. You sit at your usual table, if it is free, or at the nearest available table if it is not. And this flexibility is also part of what you love, that being known here is not a performance, not a production, just a natural accommodation between a place and a person who have had enough time together to develop something like ease. The composition ends with the piano's warm opening melody returning, played slightly slower, slightly fuller, as if it has been enriched by everything it passed through. The bass settles, the cafe continues around you. Your coffee is exactly as you like it. The club is on a street that has seen everything, and the street shows it. The buildings leaning into each other with the familiarity of old neighbors. The ironwork balconies draped with whatever has been left on them over the years. The sidewalk uneven from the roots of trees that have been growing here longer than the buildings above them. The club itself is unmarked, except for a handwritten sign in the window, small enough that you almost missed it, which is either a failure of marketing or an act of faith in the people who were meant to find it. You found it. You pushed open the door, and the music came out to meet you. This slow jazz composition was written in the spirit of that music. The music of a city that invented the form that has been playing it for a century, that has buried more great musicians in its cemeteries and produced more great musicians from its neighborhoods than any comparable geography in the world. The piano opens with the rolling, slightly syncopated feel that belongs to this city specifically. Not imitative, not pastiche, but genuinely inhabited. The way a dialect is genuine when it belongs to the place rather than being performed for visitors. The bass walks its unhurried New Orleans walk, the slightly behind the beat quality that is not lateness but depth, the musical equivalent of a city that knows it has nothing to prove. The band is 4 people: piano, bass, drums, trumpet. No saxophone tonight. The trumpet player is older, his face carrying the specific authority of a musician who has been playing this music in this city for decades, whose knowledge of the form is so deep it has ceased to be technical and become simply what he does, what he is. He plays with his eyes closed for most of the set, occasionally opening them to check in with the other musicians, a glance that communicates more than a conversation could. The piano takes a solo, and it is unhurried and full of the blues, full of the grief and the joy that the blues holds simultaneously. The music's fundamental insistence that these two things are not opposites. The audience is small and attentive. Some of them are tourists who found the place the way you did, slightly by accident, guided by the music coming through the door. Some of them are locals who have been coming here for years, who know the musicians by name, who have their preferred spots at the bar. The mix of these two populations, the new and the habitual, is itself characteristic of the city, which has always been both deeply local and hospitable to outsiders, which has always known that its music belongs to the world, even while it belongs to this specific place first. The composition ends with the trumpet playing the melody one last time, slowly, as if reluctant to let it go, as if the tune has been worth spending time with, and is worth spending a little more before it concludes. The piano plays underneath with with the warmth of the city itself. Complicated, ancient, exuberant, sad, irrepressible, the bass walks its final bars. The drums brush their last stroke, and the club returns to its between-set noise. The talk and the laughter and the clink of glasses, the ongoing life of a room that exists to hold this music in this city, which holds all of it, the way the delta holds everything the river brings, absorbing it, transforming it, making it part of what it is. Sunday has its own quality of time. Not the anticipatory tension of Friday evening, or the particular melancholy of Sunday night, but the middle hours, late morning into afternoon, when the week has not yet reasserted its claims and the weekend still holds its temporary grant of freedom. The blanket is on the couch. The book is the kind of book that does not demand to be finished. A collection of essays, perhaps, or a novel you have been reading slowly by choice, savoring rather than consuming. The jazz comes from the small speaker on the shelf, turned to a volume that fills the room without commanding it. This slow jazz composition was written for exactly this configuration. It begins with a piano that sounds as if it knows it is Sunday, unhurried in a way that is different from the unhurried quality of a late-night composition, lighter, more domestic, less haunted. The bass enters with a warmth that matches the blanket, the room, the light coming through the window at its Sunday angle. The drums are present, but barely. Just the quietest possible brushwork, the musical equivalent of not quite silence, of a background presence that supports without intruding. You read a few pages and then stop reading and look out the window. This is permitted. This is, in fact, the point. The Sunday morning with its book and its blanket and its jazz is not a project to be completed, but an experience to be inhabited. And inhabiting it properly includes looking out the window for a while, watching the tree in the front yard move in the light wind, watching a neighbor walk past with a dog, watching the quality of the light change as a cloud passes and the sun re-emerges and the room brightens slightly. The saxophone enters here in the looking out the window moment, and it plays the particular quality of that attention, wide, unhurried, open to whatever presents itself, not seeking anything, not avoiding anything, simply present to the Sunday morning as it occurs. The trumpet plays a brief response, light and almost amused, as if it too recognizes the luxury of having nowhere to be, no urgency, no requirement. Then it fades back into the texture of the piece, and the saxophone continues its wide, unhurried contemplation. The composition ends without finality. It simply becomes quieter, the piano thinning to single notes, the bass resolving gently, the saxophone settling into a long final tone that fades below the threshold of hearing before it technically ends. You become aware, gradually, that the music is finished, the way you become aware that you have fallen asleep. Not at the moment of transition, but slightly after, looking back at it from the other side. You turn the page. The Sunday continues outside. The tree moves inside. The blanket holds its warmth, and the book holds its place. And everything is exactly as efficient as it needs to be. There's a letter in the drawer tonight, folded once and fading out of sight. The ink has turned from midnight into gray, but still the words refuse to go away. I wrote it when the rain was on the roof, when every quiet hour was living proof that love can sit beside an empty chair and fill the room with things it couldn't dare. I signed your name inside my heart, then hid the flame and played my part. The letter never sent still knows where all the tender silence goes. It keeps a little breath of spring, a song I never learned to sing. The letter never sent remains, soft as jazz behind the rain, unopened, warm and true, still finding its way to you. I said I miss the way you stirred your tea, the little smile you gave the world for free, the way you watched the lamps come on at 5, as if the evening made the town alive. I said I hoped your winter coat was warm, that you had found a harbor from the storm. I didn't say that every street I knew had turned a little lonely without you. The paper stayed, the courage went, a small parade of words unspent. The letter never sent still knows where all the tender silence goes. It keeps a little breath of spring, a song I never learned to sing. The letter never sent remains, soft as jazz behind the rain, unopened, warm and true, still finding its way to you. Maybe some words are meant to sleep between the pages folded deep. Maybe some hearts are kind enough to hold a candle, not a fire. Maybe the night already heard every small and trembling word. Maybe the moon became
downstairs plays a gentle line, a melody that might have once been mine. The bass is low, the brushes barely move, like time has found a softer kind of groove. I take the letter out and read it slow. The old cafe's closing down below. I almost laugh, I almost call your name, but fold it back and love you just the same. The letter never sent still knows where all the tender silence goes. It keeps a little breath of spring, a song I never learned to sing. The letter never sent remains soft as jazz behind the rain, unopened, warm and true, still finding its way to you. There's a letter in the drawer tonight, holding on to one small light. And though it never crossed the blue, it spent its whole life loving you. One lonely streetlight bends into the rain, gold on the pavement, soft against the pane. The city closes every tired door and leaves its silver footsteps on the floor. I walk the avenue without a sound, with little broken moons beneath me found. My shadow follows like a quiet friend around the midnight corner at the end. No one is calling, no train is near, only the falling rain I can hear. Under the lonely light, I slow my feet, listening to the heartbeat of the street. Every shining stone, every faded sign whispers that the night is kind. Under the lonely light, I breathe again, soft as a brush drum after rain. Though the city sleeps and you are far, the streetlight keeps a little star. A cafe chair is folded by the wall, a neon letter flickers small and tall. The window shows a piano closed and still, but I can hear a chord behind the hill. He used to meet me where the taxis turn, where late night lamps in yellow circles burn. You wore that smile like velvet in the dark, and lit the empty sidewalk with a spark. Now only water runs down the stone. The night grows softer. I walk alone under the lonely light. I slow my feet, listening to the heartbeat of the street. Every shining stone, every faded sign whispers that the night is kind. Under the lonely light, I breathe again, soft as a brush drum after rain. Though the city sleeps and you are far, the streetlight keeps a little star. Maybe loneliness can glow, maybe silence has a tone, maybe every heart must know how to sing when left alone. There's a slow piano line in the puddles at my shoes, and the bass below the night plays away my quiet blues. The rain is thinning into silver thread. The clouds are lifting slowly overhead. A baker lights the oven down the lane, and morning hides behind the last of rain. I touch the railing, cold beneath my hand, and try my best to finally understand. Not every goodbye leaves the whole world bare. Sometimes the light remains and waits you there. Under the lonely light, I slow my feet, listening to the heartbeat of the street. Every shining stone, every faded sign whispers that the night is kind. Under the lonely light, I breathe again, soft as a brush drum after rain. Though the city sleeps and you are far, the streetlight keeps a little star. One lonely streetlight, warm and small, still keeps watch above it all. And on the pavement, clean and bright, the rain turns sorrow into light. Autumn leaves are drifting through the air, golden little letters everywhere. The benches wait beneath the maple trees, reading all the secrets of the breeze. I walk the path where summer used to sing, with one more coffee and my old brown string. is empty, quiet, soft and wide, but memory is walking by my side. The sky is low, the afternoon is old. The wind can know what hearts have never told. Autumn leaves come dancing down, paint your music on the town. Softly turn and softly fall, make a song from losing all. Autumn leaves don't hurry by, teach my heart the way to fly. Even when the branches part, there is warmth inside the heart. The fountain sleeps beneath a coat of green. The quietest October ever seen. A dog runs past, then vanishes from view. Like little joys we never hold on to. I find the tree where we once carved a name. The letters faded, but they burn the same. I touch the bark and laugh under my breath at love that never really leaves with death. The season bends, the shadows grow. What truly ends? The heart says no. Autumn leaves come dancing down, paint your music on the town. Softly turn and softly fall, make a song from losing all. Autumn leaves don't hurry by, teach my heart the way to fly. Even when the branches part, there is warmth inside the heart. There's a piano in the distance, maybe only in my mind, playing chords of sweet resistance, leaving summer far behind. There's a bass beneath the walking, there are brushes in the trees. There are old familiar feelings turning circles in the breeze. A child has left a red scarf on the gate. The evening comes, but not a minute late. The lamps appear like honey-colored stars and soften all the benches and the cars. I let one leaf fall open in my palm, a tiny golden page, a little song. It says that every goodbye, when it's through, may still become a doorway into blue. Autumn leaves come dancing down, paint your music on the town. Softly turn and softly fall, make a song from losing all. Autumn leaves don't hurry by, teach my heart the way to fly. Even when the branches part, there is warmth inside the heart. The park is empty, still I smile. Autumn walks with me a while, and every leaf that leaves the tree comes softly home inside of me. golden little letters everywhere. The benches wait beneath the maple trees, reading all the secrets of the breeze. I walk the path where summer used to sing, with one more coffee and my old brown string. The park is empty, quiet, soft and wide, but memory is walking by my side. The sky is low, the afternoon is old. The wind can know what hearts have never told. Autumn leaves come dancing down, paint your music on the town. Softly turn and softly fall, make a song from losing all. Autumn leaves don't hurry by, teach my heart the way to fly. Even when the branches part, there is warmth inside the heart. The fountain sleeps beneath a coat of green. The quietest October ever seen. A dog runs past, then vanishes from view, like little joys we never hold on to. I find the tree where we once carved a name. The letters faded, but they burn the same. I touch the bark and laugh under my breath at love that never really leaves with death. The season bends, the shadows grow. What truly ends? The heart says no. Autumn leaves come dancing down, paint your music on the town. Softly turn and softly fall, make a song from losing all. Autumn leaves don't hurry by, teach my heart the way to fly. Even when the branches part, there is warmth inside the heart. There's a piano in the distance, maybe only in my mind, playing chords of sweet resistance, leaving summer far behind. There's a bass beneath the walking, there are brushes in the trees, there are old familiar feelings turning circles in the breeze. A child has left a red scarf on the gate. The evening comes, but not a minute late. The lamps appear like honey-colored stars and soften all the benches and the cars. I let one leaf fall open in my palm, a tiny golden page, a little song. It says that every goodbye, when it's through, may still become a doorway into blue. Autumn leaves come dancing down, paint your music on the town. Softly turn and softly fall, make a song from losing all. Autumn leaves don't hurry by, teach my heart the way to fly. Even when the branches part, every leaf that leaves the tree comes softly home inside of me.
The band is playing slower than before. Your hand is warm, the night is at the door. The glasses shine like tiny moons of wine, and every step says, darling, you are mine. The room is turning gently soft and blue. The candlelight is leaning into you. I know the morning train will call your name, but for this song the world remains the same. Don't speak too soon, don't count the miles. Let one more tune hold back goodbyes. Dance with me before the music fades, before the night folds up its velvet shades, before the dawn can take you from my arms, before the silence steals the ballroom charm. Turn with me slowly, cheek to cheek, say all the words we cannot speak. For one more song, let time be kind, leave the goodbye outside our mind. Your dress is moving like a quiet flame. The piano softly whispers out your name. The brushed drums breathe beneath the chandelier, and every note is something I hold dear. You smile the way a memory might smile, as if the past could stay a little while. We circle where the shadows meet the floor, and I pretend there won't be any door. Don't let the day come through the blue, just let me stay and dance with you. Dance with me before the music fades, before the night folds up its velvet shades, before the dawn can take you from my arms, before the silence steals the ballroom charm. Turn with me slowly, cheek to cheek, say all the words we cannot speak. For one more song, let time be kind, leave the goodbye outside our mind. If life should scatter us like rain, if seasons never look the same, I'll keep the rhythm of your hand, a secret only hearts understand. If years should pass in other rooms, if other roses learn to bloom, I'll hear this bass, this soft refrain, and feel you turning close again. The waiter dims the final golden
cold streets dressed in white. Your suitcase stands beside the old cafe, a quiet witness to the break of day. The final chord is hanging in the air. I brush a silver shadow from your hair. You say my name, and then you look away. But still we dance until there's nothing left to say. Dance with me before the music fades, before the night folds up its velvet shades, before the dawn can take you from my arms, before the silence steals the ballroom charm. Turn with me slowly, cheek to cheek, say all the words we cannot speak. For one more song, let time be kind. Leave the goodbye outside our mind. And when the door is open wide and morning pulls you to its side, my heart will keep soft and true the last dance I had with you. An old photo rests upon my knee. A younger face is looking back at me. The leather chair is warm against the night. The reading lamp is pouring amber light. The room is full of books and quiet air. A little dust is dancing everywhere. And in the frame beneath the summer sky, you smile as if the years could not pass by. The clock is kind, the fire is low. A gentle mind lets old things glow. Old photo, tell me where we went, where all those golden hours were spent. Was love a room, a street, a song, or just a light we carried along? Old photo, keep your faded grace, keep the sunlight on that face. In this chair with evening near, the past is softly sitting here. I see the coat I wore in early May, the cafe sign across the narrow way. Your hand was lifted halfway to the sun, as if the whole wide world had just begun. Behind us, windows opened into blue, and every little breeze believed in you. The city had a melody back then, a tune I hear and lose and hear again. The paper bends, the edges wear, but every friend is still somewhere. Old photo, tell me where we went, where all those golden hours were spent. Was love a room, a street, a song, or just a light we carried long? Old photo, keep your faded grace, keep the sunlight on that face. In this chair with evening near, the past is softly sitting here. The piano knows the color of remembering, the bass knows how to walk without a sound. The brushes sweep the shadows into silver, and every lost thing comes back around. I don't ask the years to be forgiving, I don't ask the spring to come again. I only hold this little square of living, and thank the night for letting it remain. The rain begins to touch the window pane, a quiet little tapping in refrain. I place the picture by the porcelain cup and feel the old room slowly opening up. You are not young and I am not the same, but tenderness can outlast any name. And in the leather chair beneath the light, a faded summer keeps me warm tonight. Old photo, tell me where we went, where all those golden hours were spent. Was love a room, a street, a song, or just a light we carried long? Old photo, keep your faded grace, keep the sunlight on that face. In this chair with evening near, the past is softly sitting here. So stay with me, old paper moon, the night is deep, the hour is soon, and in your smile forever rare, love leans back in a leather chair. The harbor wakes beneath a veil of gray. Old wooden boats are rocking in the bay. A coffee cup is warming both my hands, while morning writes its name across the sand. The gulls are calling softly through the blue. The fog is hiding every point of view, but somewhere in the mist I hear your name, like a tender song returning just the same. The world is slow, the tide is low, the lanterns lose their glow, and every little wave that sighs sounds like a long ago. Meet me where the quiet waters turn, where the sleepy harbor lights still burn. Hold the morning gently, let it stay before is blown away. Sing me something soft and low, something only old hearts know. In the misty harbor morning light, everything feels almost right. A sailor folds his coat against the cold. The sky is pale, the fishing nets are old. The cafe door is opening with a chime, and every step is moving out of time. I see your shadow by the empty pier, a memory that somehow still feels near. You smile the way you did in early spring, when every promise sounded like a ring. The world is still, the air is thin, the day has not begun, and all the things we never said are waiting for the sun. Meet me where the quiet waters turn, where the sleepy harbor lights still burn. Hold the morning gently, let it stay before the silver mist is blown away. Sing me something soft and low, something only old hearts know. In the misty harbor morning light, everything feels almost right. Maybe we were only passing through, like boats that never know the shore. Maybe I was only dreaming you, but I have dreamed you here before. The piano in the cafe plays a brushed up rhythm, soft and small, and in the hush of harbor haze, I almost hear your footsteps fall. The ropes are wet, the morning papers wait, the baker sweeps the doorstep by the gate. The clouds are turning pearl above the town, and slowly all the mist is coming down. I leave a little coin beside my cup. I button my old coat and color up, but still I turn around before I go, as if the fog might bring you back, you know. Meet me where the quiet waters turn, where the sleepy harbor lights still burn. Hold the little silver stories as they pass. I sit beside the window with my tea, watching every drop come back to me. The cafe hums in velvet afternoon. A spoon is tapping out a lazy tune. The piano plays like smoke above the floor, and someone laughs beside the open door. Outside the world is running, inside the clock is slow. The rain keeps softly coming, like something we both know. Stay with me where the coffee's warm, where little lights can calm the storm, where every cloudy sky can be a song for you, a song for me. Let the rainy street go by, let the umbrellas bloom and fly behind the cafe window pane. Love sounds better in the rain. Your coat is hanging on the wooden chair, the scent of winter lingers in the air. You trace a circle where the glass is steamed, and smile like something I once dreamed. The waitress brings another cup for two, though neither one of us knows what to do. We talk about the weather and the town, but every word keeps softly falling down. Outside the cars are sighing, inside the candles glow. The rain is never trying, it simply has to flow. Stay with me where the coffee's warm, where little lights can calm the storm, where every cloudy sky can be a song for you, a song for me. Let the rainy street go by, let the umbrellas bloom and fly behind the cafe window pane. Love sounds better in the rain. If tomorrow clears the avenue, if sunlight changes every view, I'll still remember how you came, wrapped in coffee, jazz and rain. If every train should call your name, if every season feels the same, I'll keep this booth, this small refrain, this quiet corner of the rain. The streetlights wake like honey in the blue. The evening leans a little close to you. Your fingers drum a rhythm soft and kind, a melody I keep inside my mind. The city wears its rainy overcoat, a brushed jazz beat begins to softly float, and in the window, blurred and warm and plain, I see two hearts learning from the rain. Stay with me where the coffee's warm, where song for you, a song for me. Let the rainy street go by, let the umbrellas bloom and fly behind the cafe window pane. Love sounds better in the rain. Rain behind the cafe glass, let the hurried hours pass. In every drop, in every strain, I hear your name inside the rain. The last note hangs above the room, a little candle in the gloom. The piano's hands are resting now, but music stays here anyhow. The singer smiles and lets it fade, a silver line the evening made. The crowd is quiet, soft and near, as if the whole world came to hear. Don't rush the end, don't close the door. A note can bend and live once more. The last note before silence, hold it gently, let it shine. In the space between the heartbeats, there is something close to divine. The last note before silence, soft as rain on evening stone. When the song has left the room, love is never all alone. The glasses glow with amber light, the city waits outside the night. The coat is folded on a chair, a little perfume in the air. The bassist lifts his tired hand, the drummer smiles beside the stand. The florist felt 1,000 shoes, and every step became the blues. The lamps are low, the clock is kind, the melodies go and stay behind. The last note before silence, hold it gently, let it shine. In the space between the heartbeats, there is something close to divine. The last note before silence, soft as rain on evening stone. When the song has left the room, love is never all alone. Maybe endings are not endings, maybe quiet has a sound. Maybe every song keeps sending little echoes underground. Maybe all the words unspoken, all the hands we never held, turn to music warm and broken in the that swelled. The singer takes a final bow. The blue light fades across her brow. Somebody whispers one more song, but even longing can't last long. The street outside is wet with rain. The taxi lights begin again. But in the room the air still knows the way a tender ending goes. The last note before silence. Hold it gently, let it shine. In the space between the heartbeats, there is something close to divine. The last note before silence, soft as rain on evening stone. When the song has left the room, love is never all alone. So let it fade but not depart. Let it settle in the heart. The song is gone, the night is still, but one last note is shining still. Midnight leans against the window glass, letting all the noisy hours pass. Two glasses catch the candle's lazy shine, and every word is warmer with the wine. You tell me how the city felt today, how every little cloud got in your way. I listen while the piano softly sways, and turn your worries into gentler phrases. The night is slow, the room is small. The red wine knows the truth of all. Talk to me, darling, soft and low. Tell me where your shadows go. Here in the midnight, kind and fine, we can let our troubles turn to wine. Stay with me where the candles burn, where tired hearts can slowly learn that every sorrow, every sign sounds sweeter after midnight wine. The waiter wipes the counter by the door. The jukebox hums a tune from years before. The bass walks slowly underneath the room, like roses opening in the gloom. You laugh about a dream you used to chase, a silver train, a far-off foreign place. I say the world can wait outside tonight. Let's give the moon another glass of light. No need to run, no need to hide. The day is done, the stars decide. Talk to me, darling, soft and low. Tell me where your shadows go. Here in the midnight, kind and fine, we can let our troubles turn to wine. Stay with me where the candles burn, where tired hearts can slowly learn that every sorrow, every sign sounds sweeter after after midnight wine. Maybe we are only passing through the blue and borrowed hours. Maybe time is always asking for the names of all our flowers. But tonight the glasses glimmer and the piano takes its time. Every fear is growing dimmer, every silence learns to rhyme. You rest your hand beside the empty plate and smile as if the world can still be late. The rain begins outside, a quiet thread, a velvet rhythm on the street ahead. We talk of nothing, then of everything, of winter coats and almost buying rings. And when the clock forgets to draw the line, your eyes become the color of the wine. Talk to me, darling, soft and low. Tell me where your shadows go. Here in the midnight, kind and fine, we can let our troubles turn to wine. Stay with me where the candles burn, where tired hearts can slowly learn that every sorrow, every sign sounds sweeter after midnight wine. The bottle's low, the night is deep, the city hums itself to sleep. And in the hush with hands entwined, we leave the loud world far behind.
The record is older than anyone who is likely to play it. It came in a paper sleeve, and the sleeve came in a cardboard box. And the box came from an estate sale where nobody else wanted it, which is how the best things are often found, in the spaces left by people who did not know what they had or had known, and no longer needed to keep it. The label is faded and slightly water damaged. The record itself, when held to the light, shows a faint network of scratches and a deep groove worn by decades of use. Someone played this many times. Someone needed this music repeatedly, urgently, in the way you need something that tells you the truth about yourself. This slow jazz composition is arranged to sound as it might sound coming from such a record, through the warm, slightly compressed audio of old analog equipment, with the characteristic surface noise of a well-played disc. The soft crackle between phrases, the gentle pop on the downbeat. The way the music seems to breathe differently than modern recordings, less precise, more present, more human. The piano begins the piece with a melody that sounds immediately familiar, even if you have never heard it. The way certain melodies sound familiar because they are built from true things, from the real intervals of feeling, rather than the constructed intervals of craft. The bass and drums establish a rhythm that is loose and warm, the rhythm of musicians playing together in a room, listening to each other, leaving space, responding. This is the thing that was lost when recording became production. The conversation between players, the slight imperfections that prove the music was made by people in time rather than assembled outside of it. The saxophone enters, and it sounds like an old friend. Not because you know the musician, you do not, but because the music speaks in a register that is prior to individual identity, that exists below the level of person and above the level of mere sound. You clean the needle carefully before placing it on a record. You lower the arm with the particular reverence this act requires. The ceremony of contact between diamond and groove, between the present moment and the preserved past. The first sound is that familiar crackle, those few seconds of pure anticipation. And then the music begins and the room changes. It is not that the present disappears, it is that the past becomes present alongside it. And the two exist together in the warm, slightly dusty air of whatever room you are in. And there is something in that coexistence that feels like company, like continuity, like the particular comfort of knowing that people have felt what you feel and made something out of it that lasted. The record ends with a needle tracing the final groove in silence, a small rhythmic tick that repeats until you lift the arm. You do not lift it immediately. You let it play in the locked groove for a little while. That quiet, patient repetition at the end of everything, because ending things too quickly is a habit you are trying to break. Then you lift the arm, you return the record to its sleeve. The room is quiet in a different way than it was before the music, fuller somehow, as if something has been added to the air and has not yet dissipated. There is a particular kind of silence that lives inside an underpass at midnight. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of containment. The city above continues its slow nocturnal breathing, but down here, beneath the street, sound behaves differently. Footsteps echo and multiply. A distant train vibrates through the concrete walls like a memory you can feel but not quite locate. The fluorescent lights flicker at irregular intervals, casting everything in a pale, slightly unreal light that makes the ordinary look temporary, as if the whole structure might dissolve by morning. The slow jazz composition was written for that underground hour. It begins with the bass, deep, resonant, felt more than heard, like the vibration of infrastructure. The piano enters above it, playing in the middle register with a deliberate, unhurried touch. Each chord allowed to bloom and fade before the next arrives. There are no sharp edges in this music. Everything is rounded, softened, the way sound is softened by concrete and tile. And the particular acoustics of enclosed spaces, a
woman walks through the underpass alone. Her heels click against the tile floor in a rhythm that the drummer mirrors almost imperceptibly. Not imitating, but acknowledging the way jazz is always acknowledged, the rhythms of the world it inhabits. She does not hurry. She has walked this way 100 times. She knows its length, its smell, the way the acoustics shift halfway through, where the ceiling rises slightly. She knows which lights flicker and which hold steady. This underpass is part of her geography, part of the specific texture of her daily life, as unremarkable and as irreplaceable as anything can be. The saxophone enters in the middle section, its tone softened by the imagined reverb of tiled walls. It plays something that sounds like an interior monologue, the kind of thinking that only happens when you are moving through a space alone, when the body is occupied with navigation and the mind is free to wander. She is thinking about something she said this morning that she wishes she had said differently. She is thinking about the weekend. She is thinking about nothing in particular, which is sometimes the most honest kind of thinking. She emerges on the other side. The night air meets her, cool, open, carrying the smell of the city in its nighttime form. The compression of the underpass releases, the saxophone broadens its tone. The piano opens up harmonically, the bass walks more freely. She crosses the street without looking back. The underpass continues to exist behind her, lit by its flickering lights, waiting for the next person. With the patience of all underground things, the patience of what has been built to last, of what exists without needing to be noticed, of what holds the city up from below. While the city goes about its life above, largely unaware. Largely unaware. The fog is complete. Standing at the bow you can see, perhaps 20 meters ahead, the water immediate and dark, the bow wave spreading from the hull, and then the white wall of the fog beginning, absolute and indifferent, concealing whatever lies ahead with perfect thoroughness. The horn sounds at regular intervals, not for navigation. The captain has instruments for that, but as a courtesy to other vessels, an announcement of presence and direction in a world reduced to sound. The sound of the horn hangs in the fog for a moment after it is made, then dissolves, absorbed. The slow jazz composition opens with a tone that has the quality of fog, sustained surrounding, without sharp edges filling the space available to it. The piano plays within this tone rather than against it, a slow melody that moves carefully, that takes each step with attention that has the quality of navigating by feel through a world that has reduced its visual information to almost nothing. The bass is the engine of the ferry, deep, steady, the mechanical heartbeat of a vessel that knows its route even when the route cannot be seen. The drums are absent, there is only the foghorn at its intervals, felt more than heard. The other passengers are inside in the heated cabin, but you are here at the boat because the fog is worth being in, worth being present to. There is a quality of attention that fog demands, a heightened awareness of other senses, a closing down of the visual that opens up everything else. You can hear the water more clearly without the visual competition, hear the engine differently, hear the foghorn's tone change slightly as the fog thickens or thins. You can feel the cold of it on your face, the moisture in the air, so close to precipitation that you are almost wet without quite being wet. The saxophone enters in this heightened sensory state, playing what the other senses are offering in the absence of sight. Somewhere ahead, the far shore, the ferry has made this crossing thousands of times in all weather, in all seasons, and the route is as known to the vessel as a familiar road is known to a driver who could navigate it in total darkness. The fog changes nothing about the route, it changes only your experience of the route. Makes it longer in perception, if not in fact, makes the arrival more surprising, more welcome. The fog suddenly thinning as you enter the shallower water near the shore, and the shapes of the dock and the buildings appearing from the white, as if being assembled for the first time. The composition ends at the moment of arrival, the fog thinning, the dock taking shape, the piano's careful melody opening into something wider and more certain as the world returns to visibility. The bass resolves with the satisfaction of a voyage completed, of a route navigated successfully through the uncertain. The saxophone plays one last phrase in the clearing fog, looking back one last time at the white through which you came. The route now invisible behind you, the crossing accomplished, the far shore become the near shore, which is where you always were going, even when you could not see it.
The concert hall holds 600 seats, and tonight 600 seats are empty, except for one. She sits in the third row center, which is where she always sits when she comes to hear him play, which is every time he plays. which has been the arrangement between them for longer than either of them could easily calculate. He plays, she listens. This is the form their relationship has taken, or the form it has always had alongside its other forms. This particular configuration, this specific as symmetry, this agreement that in this context he will speak and she will receive, and that this is not an imbalance but a completion, the way a question and an answer complete each other. This slow jazz composition is the concert he plays for her when no one else is present, which is not a different concert from the one he would play for a full house, except that it is. When there is no one else, certain things become possible. A slower tempo, a longer silence between phrases, the willingness to stay in a difficult harmonic place longer than a general audience would tolerate, because she will tolerate it, because she knows him well enough to know that the difficult place is where he is working, and patience in the face of his working is something she has always had. The piano opens alone in the middle register with a melody that is not public-facing, that has the quality of something said directly to one person, without the slight amplification that the presence of many people requires. He does not look at her while he plays. This is not indifference. It is the opposite of indifference. Looking at her would make him self-conscious in a way that does not serve the music, would reintroduce performance into something that is trying to be something else. He plays toward her, in her direction, in the direction of her knowing him. But he looks at the keys or at the space above the keys where the music is, when it is not yet in the hands. She watches him without needing him to look back. This is sufficient. This has always been sufficient. The bass enters in the second movement, if this can be called movements. The music shifting naturally from one territory to another, from what he wanted to say to what he needed to say, to what he did not know he was going to say, until he said it. The saxophone is absent tonight. It is only piano and bass, and the listening of one person in the third row, which is its own instrument, its own presence in the music. She listens differently from the way an audience listens, with less distance, with more investment, with the specific attention of someone who knows what they are hearing, because they know the person producing it, because the music is not separate from the man, and she knows the man. The final piece ends quietly, the last notes of the piano placed with the care of someone setting down something fragile in a room where the light is low. The bass resolves, is very quiet. She does not applaud immediately, because applause would be a reintroduction of formality into something that has been entirely without it. And the moment before the applause, the moment of shared silence after the last note has faded, is itself part of what he played for her, is itself the completion. Then she brings her hands together slowly 3 times. He looks up, she is looking at him. This exchange, this seeing and being seen, after all the music, in the silence after, is what all of it was for. A slow jazz composition inspired by the quiet beauty of a rainy night in the city. The streets are empty, washed clean by the evening rain, and neon signs cast their colored light across the wet pavement below. Every puddle becomes a small mirror, reflecting red, blue, and amber in soft, trembling ripples. The saxophone enters first, low and unhurried, like a man walking alone with no destination in mind. He is not sad, he is simply present, moving through a world that feels softer when it is wet. The piano follows gentle chords that echo the rhythm of raindrops still falling from awnings and ledges. There is something sacred about this moment. The city stripped of its noise, its rush, its ambition. What remains is light and water, and the sound of a distant horn. The bass walks steadily beneath it all, a heartbeat that refuses to hurry. Think of the colors, the deep red of a bar sign bleeding into a black puddle, the green of a traffic light stretching long and thin across the asphalt, the pale gold of a street lamp shimmering in the wind. Each color holds a story, each reflection is a version of the world seen from below. Softer, distorted, more honest somehow. A lone figure crosses the street, collar turned up, unhurried. He glances down at his own reflection without stopping. The drums brush softly, barely there, like the sound of footsteps on wet stone. The trumpet joins for a moment, high and wistful, then fades back into the mist. This music does not demand your attention, it simply exists alongside you, the way a good city exists, full of life that does not require your participation to continue. The rain has mostly stopped now, but the puddles remain, holding the light a little longer than necessary, as if reluctant to let the night go. The
whisper. The piano slows to single notes, each one landing like a drop of water on a still surface. The bass resolves, the brushes fade, and the neon keeps glowing, indifferent and beautiful, reflected in the last puddles of a city that never truly sleeps. It only breathes more slowly after midnight.
The marsh at night is not the marsh of daylight. The familiar landmarks, the stand of reeds, the open water channel, the rotting wooden platform that was once a duck blind, are present but transformed, translated into a language of silver and shadow that makes them simultaneously recognizable and strange. The moon is full and high, and the water holds it perfectly, reproducing it in every direction, so that looking out across the marsh, you see not one moon, but many. In the still water between the reeds, in the pools left by the tide, in the narrow channels that run between the grass islands. This slow jazz composition opens with the piano playing in a register, and a manner that seems to hold silver light. The notes precise and cool, the pedal sustaining each chord until it is ghostly, the melody moving slowly through the middle of the piece, like the moon's reflection moves slowly across still water when a reed disturbs the surface. The bass is the marsh itself, deep-rooted, full of organic life and organic darkness. The low register of a world that is neither land nor water, but something that refuses the distinction. The drums are absent, or nearly so, just the faintest possible brush stroke, the sound of wind moving through reeds. At night the marsh sounds different than it does in the day. The birds that populate it in daylight are largely silent now, replaced by the occasional cry of a heron from somewhere in the reeds, a sound that belongs to the night in its strangeness, in the way it carries across the water, but the clarity that daytime sounds rarely have. The frogs have finished for the season, the insects too. What remains is wind and water, and the occasional heron, and the sound of your own presence in this place, which is, if you are still enough, almost nothing. The saxophone enters the way the moon enters a gap in the clouds, gradually, then completely, its presence transforming the character of the piece. The way moonlight transforms the character of a landscape. It plays something that is not quite a melody in the conventional sense, more like a sustained meditation, a series of long tones that explore
The upper reaches of the instruments register that have the quality of light rather than narrative. The music and the marsh and the moon exist together without explanation. There is something ancient about marsh light, about the moon reflected in still dark water surrounded by reeds. This landscape is very old, older than any music, older than any human presence, shaped by water and tide, and the slow accumulation of organic material over millennia. The music does not try to be as old as the marsh. It only tries to be present in it honestly, to play the moonlight without pretending to own it, to add something to the night without subtracting from its essential strangeness. The piano holds its final silver chord. The bass releases its root. The saxophone lets its last tone thin to nothing in the night air, returning the marsh to its own music, which has been playing longer than any other.
It reaches you half a block before the bakery does, carried on the cool morning air, mixing with the smell of damp pavement and the faint diesel trace of the early bus. The smell of bread baking is one of the oldest human smells, one that carries associations from further back than any individual memory. Associations that belong to the species rather than the person. Warmth, shelter, sufficiency. The transformation of raw materials into nourishment through the application of heat and time and knowledge. You slow down without deciding to. The street slows down. The morning rearranges itself around this smell. The slow jazz composition opens with the bass playing alone. A warm rolling figure that moves like someone walking at an unhurried pace on a quiet street. At an hour when the street belongs to early risers and delivery vehicles, and the particular quality of morning before it has fully committed to being day. The piano enters above it, and the melody it plays has something of the roundness of bread, something of its warmth. Not a metaphor exactly, but a resonance. The way music can carry physical qualities without naming them. The brush drums arrive like footsteps on a quiet pavement, precisely present, going somewhere. The bakery has been here for a long time, longer than most of the businesses on this street, longer than many of the residents who count it as part of the texture of their neighborhood. It opens at 5:30, and the baking begins at 3, and the people who live above the bakery
and the buildings adjacent to it have long since stopped noticing the smell, because familiarity makes invisible what proximity makes constant. But for someone walking past from the outside, for the early commuter, the insomniac, the person who chose to walk this route rather than the faster one, the smell arrives as a gift, unrequested, impractical, adding nothing to the efficiency of the morning and everything to its quality. The saxophone enters when the bakery comes into view, a warm, unhurried melody that seems to come from the same register as the smell, as if sound and scent are simply different expressions of the same essential quality. Something made with care, with knowledge, for no purpose other than that it should be good. The window of the bakery is lit inside, shapes move. The work that began at 3 is reaching its first completion. You do not go in, you do not need bread this morning. You simply slow down as you pass, allow the smell to accompany you for the half block after the bakery before it fades and the street returns to its ordinary morning smell. The composition ends here with the fading of the smell, the piano's melody thinning gradually, the bass walking its final steps, the saxophone releasing its last warm note into the cool morning air. The street continues, the bakery continues behind you. The morning has been briefly and completely made better by the presence of something made with heat and time, and the old knowledge of how to turn simple things into something necessary and good.